So the first evaluation question is, in what way does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? So I did a music video which was about an abusive relationship in a kind of teenage age, and this led on to a suicide as well. So it was quite a deep, darkish kind of music video which kind of shed light on realities of like mental health as well as teenagers' lives. I produced 3 projects within this big project. The first one being a music video, the second one being a digipack, and the third one being a magazine advert. For a music video, I'd say there's a few conventions that, especially in pop, they stick to when creating one. The first one being the link between the music and the visuals. So, for instance, in different music videos, if it's a song about love, the general narrative will be about love. And this makes it easy to kind of couple the music with the video. The next one being rapid cuts. In pop music videos, there's a lot of rapid cuts because it makes it more interesting for the audience to watch and nobody gets bored. There is also bright lighting. This is because it's easier to watch on the eye. Young actors, tends to be a lot of young actors personally, because the target audience for pop is generally quite young, so having someone young makes it more relatable. And there's also, in pop music videos, a lot the narratives tend to be quite based around love as well, because it's like a common and it's a theme that people can relate to. There's also sometimes performance in pop music. That's another convention of pop music, when they have the actor actually performing in it. Dancing, they also have dancing as well as close-up shots which of the actual actors themselves, which kind of keep the audience engaged, as well as occasionally a convention is voyeurism, having usually in pop music videos the artists or the most popular pop female try to say themselves as something stereotypically women female groups usually show themselves as, which are sexual objects. This is because kind of gains the attention of the public eye, especially the male gaze. So in my music video, I did adhere to a lot of pop music video conventions. The first one being performance. So in a normal generic pop music video, they would have the character or the artist singing to the camera, or doing some sort of performance with the song, singing the song. So I did it very simply. I just put my artist in front of a plain white background and got her to sing it, the lyrics to the camera. I cut this in between all the actual narrative, as that is also a convention of a pop music video. I chose to do it behind a plain white background because I thought that we could easily see her emotions, and it was more raw and simple, which made it more interesting in a way because you just focus on her face and not anything else. In terms of the actors, as I said previously, young actors is a very popular convention. I used late teens, young adults in mine, because I thought that that was the audience, that's my target audience anyway, so I thought that if they were in it, it would appeal more to that age group anyway, because it would be seen as more relatable, as well as people would be intrigued to see how others dealt with a situation that they might find themselves in. In pop music videos, there's also a lot of close-up shots. I did this mainly on her shots of her in the bathroom upset when she's considering killing herself. I did that because I thought, again, that those shots are really intense, so you need to see the full expression on her face. I also did close-up shots in the singing because, again, I wanted the emotion to come through and not just be put to the side and kind of ignored if there was other visual aspects going on in the thing. So throughout my music video, I not only tried to use or challenge the conventions, I also tried to develop them. This was basically using the basis of the idea and developing them further to change it, as well as keep it very similar to the actual convention itself. So one of the things I did this with was the convention of linking the visuals and the music together. Although my music was about a kind of a broken relationship, the actual song was about a broken relationship. I did use that in the music video by having him and her in an argument, then them breaking up, then him thinking it was cheating. So the theme was a relationship. However, I also decided to build on ideas such as mental health as well as cyberbullying. So for mental health, I decided to get the fact that her abusive relationship ended up so severely that she ended up killing herself, as well as the fact that once he thought she was cheating on him, he then went and posted images of her online, and that also kind of exaggerated her emotions and her feelings, which it ended up killing herself for. So I think, although I kept to this link between the visuals and the music with the theme of relationships and love, I did also develop on them and make it more interesting for the audience. In terms of how I challenged the conventions, there were some of them that I didn't kind of use. For example, the bright lighting. Although some of it was bright, it wasn't incredibly bright and colourful and visual in that kind of aspect, because I thought that the topics and the themes throughout the music video were quite dark anyway. I didn't want them to be exposed in a light that could be seen as taking a joke out of it or making it just one of those storylines that people kind of dismiss as something to be less serious than it actually is. So I did use dimmer lighting in that sense. In terms of dancing, which is also another conventional pop music video, I didn't put any of that in because I thought, again, that would make the video less, not professional, but less serious. And I wanted my music video to be more serious than it was to be a happy, jolly video that it was. In terms of locations, I used quite affluent areas. For her house, you could see that it was quite a nice house, which kind of shows wealth. And I guess in that sense, it's kind of challenging the idea of a stereotypical girl who's in this situation, because people mostly associate wealthy people with having good lives and not being stuck in like a domestic abuse cycle, or having the issue of being depressed and suicidal. So I think it was interesting to kind of contrast that with a more wealthy, affluent background than what people would have thought it would have been as a more deprived kind of family life. So for lighting, in my music video, I kind of set it around to be quite dim, not dim, more darker lighting, more low colours that kind of made it look a bit more depressing in a way, because I felt that I wanted to convey her side of the story and not to show it in a happy light kind of atmosphere. So I felt that I also saturated some of the and played with the colour balance on Final Cut Pro to make it look more bold and more vivid and more realistic for the audience, because I felt that, especially when she was crying, I really wanted to show that, and I really wanted to highlight that within the text. So my target audience was aimed at teenagers, late teenagers from ages 16 to 20. I decided to focus on that target audience because I thought that this storyline especially would be very relatable, as people are still at school or college, but they're still trying out boyfriends and trying out, and it also kind of showed an aspect of mental health, and I think people our age suffer from mental health, probably the most prominently. So in terms of how I pleased the audience, I think it was a very unusual, complicated storyline that I think I showed. I think it had two elements to it, which are also very relatable for those ages. It had the idea of having a broken relationship and a domestic violent relationship, as well as having the impact of that onto a mental health issue. So the severity of depression, how it led this girl to becoming suicidal, and I think that for that's very relatable for most teenagers, and it kind of showed or shone a light onto that issue and the awareness of that issue. I also think it's amusing for that age gap to kind of see and almost experience someone else's life through another person's perspective, and I think that also showed that. I think the environments like school and the ideas of smoking all kind of go within the youth kind of category, and I think it made it feel a lot more, they identified with it a lot more, which also comes to the next point, which is how audience theories, how I kind of used audience theories in this product to kind of show and complement it. So, for example, Kat's idea of uses and gratifications basically was fulfilling personal needs. So there's the idea of personal identity and diversion, which I kind of played upon. I kind of used personal identity as if it was, especially for the audience theory, people there kind of similar ages going through similar sorts of situations. In terms of diversion, people find it easier to kind of look at somebody else's life and issues and to get away from theirs. So I thought that kind of could nicely complement that side of the uses and gratifications. So for my magazine advert for my poster and my digipack, I tried to stay with a similar theme throughout, as well as the pictures. There was also consideration of conventions of both the magazine advert for a pop album as well as a digipack. So the first convention is the iconography. This depends on the image that the artist has chosen through mise-en-scene and the representation of the artist. So most pop artists choose bright colours. The pop artist is usually young and attractive and presents herself in an appealing way to the audience. Therefore, they're like an icon to their fans, and they aspire to be like them or like to know someone. So for this, I'd say my artist is young. Although it's not very bright, there's still a pop of colour, which is also quite common in pop albums and digipacks. In my digipack, there's 3 dominant colours, which is like blue, purple, and black and white. The blue and the purple really stand out. So in that sense, it kind of is quite bright and it's attractive. In my poster, she's wearing a red jumper and a red lip, which also makes it quite bold and attractive. The artist in herself is young and attractive and is appealing to the audience, especially with her poses in both digipacks. There's also a pose there's a promiscuous pose she does in the digipack, which I guess stereotypically attracts male attention, which also can be a convention of a magazine advert or a digipack. So with another convention is themes. So the generic artwork may differ depending on the songs and the title of the album. However, many of the pop artists choose a direct facial portrait on both the front covers. So for my poster, there was this exactly. She is just looking at the camera, straight on at the camera, and also at my digipack front cover, she's also looking straight at the camera. I thought that because it makes it more personal, because it looks as if she's looking at you, and you get to see her full face and what the artist in herself is trying to portray as well look like. So as I briefly mentioned, colours is a big thing in a digipack and a poster, and I've done this because I figured I stuck with around 4 colours majorly throughout the whole thing, which is dark blue, red, purple and black. And I think that was good because some of them are bright colours, but then they're not really happy or really colourful, which is, I didn't want to portray my artist to be incredibly happy or joyful, although I think that it should have been more down to earth, like less like as if she had a facade. So the next one is the camera shot. So stereotypically, like a mid shot or a close-up shot of the artist in an attractive pose that is pretty central is a normal kind of way to show an audience through a magazine advert and a digipack. I did this for both. I did both a mid shot on both of them. They weren't close up to the face. You could see from the waist up, more or less. And I did that because I didn't want it to be incredibly close. I wanted it to be fairly close so you could see the face and the facial expression, but not in your face. So the artist's pose and facial expression is important for portraying the artist's personality or portraying a mood or concept. So they vary with different artists, as some artists tend to be quite provocative. So in mine, I guess you could say the pose in the right hand slide of the digipack is quite provocative because she's got censored lines across her breasts. So in that sense, I've tried to portray a more rebellious side of her because I think that will attract an older audience and not a younger one. Most artists look directly into the camera, which is what I've done. They're usually promoting themselves as much as they're promoting their music, so that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to make it quite personal to her as an artist, so it doesn't have much else apart from the artist, which is the subject. So the font and the font placement. The font on the digipack and magazine advert tends to be quite large and bold because it's eye-catching. The colour of some fonts harmonise with the rest of the colours. The back cover has like an ordered structure and usually has the same font as the front cover, which I've done on my digipack. I've done my list of songs, however it's in italic, but it's still the same font. Same with the poster, they're both quite bold, big fonts, so it's eye-catching for the audience. The placement of the text for an advert is either at the side of the subject or at the bottom as the viewer's eye is drawn from the top to bottom. So the font style is usually the same for both the digipack and advert. I've done similar, however I haven't done the same. I didn't do the same because I did still want them to be quite individual. So I wanted the digipack to have its own kind of look, as well as the poster and magazine advert having their own look as well. But I thought the link would be the colour scheme and the artist herself trying to portray the similar image. Although I would say that I definitely stuck to the convention of it being a bold, eye-catching in both projects. So the mise en scene, the costume varies with different artists. I've stuck with very simple costumes. I think that I don't want it to draw away from the artist and her music herself, so I've stuck with very simple costumes. Aside from the red on the magazine advert, you can't really see much else. The lighting is usually controlled, as most digipacks and adverts are set in the studio, so you can use a 3-point lighting. I did that in my poster magazine advert, as well as the front cover and the back cover of my digipack. I did it in a studio for the front and the back cover. So makeup, I've got the red lip on the magazine advert. This is normally quite conventional because it's quite bold, it's quite eye-catching. However, on the digipack, my front cover is in black and white. I did this because the theme of it, I wanted 2 of the slides to be black and white, 2 of the slides to be blue, and 2 of the sides to be pink, although the lip you can still see quite vividly even if it is in black. So the setting in most digipacks and adverts tend to be in a studio with a simple background, so that the audience main attention is on the artist, as the main purpose of a digipack and advert is to promote the artist. So I kept it in quite a controlled environment, in the sense that the lighting was quite controlled, it was quite balanced, and I made sure that although there was different backgrounds in most of them on the digipack, it was all very plain, so it didn't take away, didn't detract from the artist herself. Yeah, so I guess I both used and challenged and developed conventions of both the digipack and a magazine advert together, but overall I think it still has main features of a pop magazine advert and digipack overall.